Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right?
They had this in the bag. They were essentially exuding confidence going into this race. This morning, though, completely stunned. That event overnight where Hillary Clinton was supposed to show up, it was supposed to be a victory party. That's what they thought it would be. Instead, we saw staffers leaving in tears, people hugging each other. Robin, to say the least.
You have been sold a lie.
Let me out. Let me out.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
I don't know why we leaving Mouse's house. He been good to us. He feed us on Saturday, close us on Sunday, and then beat us on Monday.
That is the most ridiculous piece of philosophical bullshit I have ever heard.
And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along?
He had sex with a white girl, that's what. I say,
I want revenge.
So you must be dangerous.
I want you.
A professor wants to teach the problem of whiteness. A lawmaker calls the class garbage. You know I'm going to say that again. A professor wants to teach the problem of whiteness. A lawmaker calls the class garbage. Every Wednesday next semester, the students in Damon Sajani class will meet to discuss in depth the problem of whiteness. But the title of the course and its description has the University of Wisconsin at Madison mired in controversy before students have cracked open a book or peeked at a syllabus. Have you ever wondered what it really means to be white? If you're like most people, the answer is probably no. But here's your chance. The description reads: Critical whiteness studies aims to understand how whiteness is socially constructed and experienced in order to help dismantle white supremacy. The course explores how race is experienced by white people, but it also looks at how white people, consciously and unconsciously, perpetuate institutional racism. The class has injected the university into a decade-old debate about whether taxpayer-funded educational institutions have an obligation to tackle the important issues of the day, or to stay out of them altogether. The class is taught in the African Cultural Studies Department of the university, where 2% of the student population identifies as black and more than 75% are white. The most vocal opponent of the course is David Murphy, a Wisconsin State Assemblyman who expressed outrage last week that taxpayers are expected to pay for this garbage. The legislator, whose chairs the Assembly Committee on Colleges and Universities, took issue with what he calls the underlying premise of the class, that white people are racist. His criticism comes with a not-so-veiled threat. University of Wisconsin-Madison must discontinue this class. If the University of Wisconsin-Madison stands with this professor, I don't know how the university can expect the taxpayers to stand with the University of West Madison. In a statement emailed to the Washington Post, Murphy, Republican, said the decision to approve the class makes him question the judgment of the university's leaders. I support academic freedom and free speech, he said. Free speech also means the public has the right to be critical of their public university. The university handling of controversies like this appears to the public as a lack of balance in intellectual openness and diversity of political thought on campus. Governor Scott Walker, Republican, told the Wisconsin State Journal that he didn't agree with Murphy's call to withhold funding from the university if it doesn't drop the class. I could certainly, as a citizen or as a father who pays part of my kids' tuition, roll my eyes and raise concerns about some of the classes, Walker told the newspaper. But our focus in the budget should be on overall performance and not individual classes. Murphy takes issues not just with the class, but with Sajani's vocal public opinions. Even more troubling, the course is taught by a self-described international radical professor whose views are a slap in the face to the taxpayers. Murphy includes copies of some of Sajani's tweets in his news release. One tweet is a picture of a CNN breaking news report about police officer being shot in Dallas. Is the uprising finally starting, Sajani said. Is this style of protest gonna go viral? Another from a few weeks later is in response to former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. No, hashtag Eric Holder, it is not true that an attack on a police officer anywhere is an attack on all of us, since they do not equally protect us all. Sajani didn't immediately return message-seeking comment Tuesday. He received a Ph.D. from Northwestern University African American Study Department, according to a University of Wisconsin spokesman. He has published papers on Rachel Dolezal, a former president of the NAACP chapter in Spokane, Washington, who was ousted as not being black. He also has written about West African hip-hop and Canadian abolition. In a statement, the university defends the course and stressed that it was elective, not required, and that was not designed to offend individuals or single out an ethnic group. We believe this course, which is one of thousands offered at the university, will benefit students who are interested in developing a deeper understanding of race issue. The university statement said the course is a challenge and response to racism of all kinds. Greg Bump, a spokesman for the university, told the Washington Post that he didn't know of any criticism that had come from the students. Several organizations have criticized the class or called for tighter restrictions. The Young American Foundation posted a list of dozen college courses that is called the most bizarre and concerning instances of leftist activism supplanting traditional scholarship in our nation's colleges and universities. The Wisconsin course is not on that list. Every semester, universities make similar decisions about controversial courses, among them Queering God, Feminist and Queer Theology, a Swarthmore College course that examines feminist and queer writing about God. There are also Bowdoin's College, Transgender Latina Immigration, Politics of Belonging and Labor in the United States, which focus on social conditions of transgender Latinas, and a new website called Professor's Watch List. List the names of academics a conservative group says advance leftist propaganda or discriminate against conservative students. Sajani's name isn't on the site, but the University of Western Madison has a history of waddling into racial controversy that goes back decades. Earlier this year, hundreds of people protested at Bascom Hill after a black student was arrested for spray painting anti-racist messages on campus, according to the Wisconsin State Journal. At the protest, students taped a list of demands to a statue of Abraham Lincoln. And in 1964, University of Western Madison students Andrew Goodman was one of the three activists killed by Ku Klux Klan while registering black people to vote near Philadelphia, Mississippi. Hey, how's y'all doing? Again, this is your whiteologist bringing to you another thought-provoking topic. That's right, y'all. I'm constantly going to keep pumping. For those who watching, I'm here to bring the insight, the news, the spin, the hidden agenda, the spin, the reverse psychology, whether it be international, globally, continentally, locally, and especially here in the United States. You know my motto, y'all. I ain't telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. Came across a story I wanted to share with you. And it was talking about the University of Wisconsin at Madison. And there's a particular class about whiteness. The old age nemesis of colored people, to put whiteness under the microscope. And it seems that a lot of people have a problem, and we know what people that is, who have a problem with you putting them under the microscope because they're not to be criticized. They're not to be looked at. They are the epitome of humanity, and they are perfect. So what is there to look at? Well, if that be the case, you're perfect. All your stuff is in order. Your house is in order. You have no fallacies. You have no wrongdoings. Then you don't mind if we do a background check, right? And that's how you do it. You do a background check. Let's check your credit score. This credit score is going to be about your humanity. Is your humanity credit score high enough to be able to buy with people of color on the humanity level? Is that why you don't want to get yourself checked? Is that why you don't want to do your background check? Your credit check? Because see, classes like this, and it's really just a discussion of race. Based on what all has transpired, especially with this last election of, the 2016 so-called C-election, and how this country went into shock for all those people who participated, and just assume that you were part of the political process to find out you weren't. And that now that all this stuff that is transpiring and all these so-called, meetings and congressional hearings, a lot of you don't even know what that's all about. But I'm about to drop something and show you what that's really about. And why, when I told you again about watching those particular dates, those who did see that video, them dates that I talked about in them videos, that one particular, the last date that I talked about was major, and we'll talk about that later at another time of another topic of another video. So, here is a professor, Sinani, Damon Sinani, who's going to teach the problem of whiteness. Oh, could you see the white people lining up for that class, right? The problem of whiteness? There's no problem in the eyes of white people. Everything's fine, right? It's like three little bears. Papa Bear, no one's sleeping in my bed. Mama Bear, ain't nobody sleeping in my bed. Baby Bear, somebody's sleeping in my bed and they still in it. Now, that's how white folks is when you start to look under the cover. Right? When you give them the white glove test, when you're doing the credit check, is there a problem here? There is a problem here. But the problem is not supposed to be revealed or talked about from a people who they looked upon as not even human. Right? They don't even consider and again, does this blanket? No, I'm not blanketing. All I'm saying is, again, on the credit check, when we go through the credit listings and we go check the reference, we're going to see that people of color have never been considered never whole. It's always been in fractions, right? Partial, never whole. So how does Scooby come to Shaggy and be like, Rocky, you mistreated me, Rocky? Huh? How does Shaggy come to Scooby is how they looking at it. They looking at you like you Scooby coming to Shaggy complaining about life ain't fair. Shaggy like, haven't I been good to you? Don't I give you 3 hots and a cot? I give you a shack. Huh? I let you drive in a buggy and a horse and carriage. Huh? I let you even have some of my bottom feeder women. Ain't that good enough for you? You still ain't got over this yet? You ain't got over it yet. We ain't gonna never get over it until you have the discussion and then come with a remedy. But that's the problem. You don't want to deal with that. So let's get into this story. Story talking about there's a particular class, a course that's going to be taught at the University of Wisconsin, and they're talking about the problem of whiteness. And if they just only sticking locally, right, or just continentally, right, that class, how many semesters would it take to complete this course? That you could not do that in a semester if you're gonna really deal with it, or we're just gonna kind of skim through, picking, certain fruits of grapes, right? When you won't taste them, right? You making sure, right? Or you're gonna get in and delve deep into the meal of it to really get to the crux of it. That if you're trying to use this class as a way to, impart to seeds who are partially molded, who can be changed. And this is why, as the story goes on, you're going to see that they're having outrage about a class like this, because you're trying to divert the mindset and the agenda that has already been pre-laid, pre-coded, and preordained according to their manifest destiny. Right? So he goes on and it says that, have you ever wondered what it really means to be white? If you're like most people, the answer is probably no. Right? Except for those people who are kind of borderline-ish. Some of you listening to me, your preference is anything lighter than self. The grass in the neighbor's yard, it seems to be better. The house is better. The ice is colder. So just, have you ever wanted to be white? It solves such a psychological damage to people of color that they may not profess it in the words, but in their action, deeds, and works, you see them all trying to have some kind of manifestation, trying to be amalgamated with it. So those who take the stance of their square and love being, breathing, living as a black person, we can say this emphatically. I don't know what it wants. I don't even think to be what it is to be white. Because when you are a person who studies and research the grass, again, everything that glitter ain't gold. And for those people who, as some people want to talk about in certain videos, talk about somebody's ignorant, the ignorant as part about a particular people is that they have not even come to the realization that, have your people lied to you? Have you been molded mentally, psychologically about lies that give you a foundation that is not real? And if it was ever to be under the microscope and to be looked at, to be pried, to be dissected, what would be found? What would be the determining cause? What would be the truth? But that question of who really wants to be white is running rampant in people of color. I seen a video just the other day, young brother who seemed to have been drinking a lot of atrazine. Look that up, y'all. That's that stuff they put in that water, man. That's that stuff they put in that water. They call it chemically, what they say? Chemically castrated. This is how they are cutting off the hormones in masculine to masculate men by making them having more feminine by high estrogen. It's called atrazine. That is what they're putting in there. So I seen a young brother who was putting videos up as into lightening up his skin. And if you hear him, you would assume that what he's saying, it seems innocent. And just the fact that a person who just wanted to have their skin a little lighter. And he has 100,000 people within a couple weeks, and here I struggle because I don't even know if a lot of you people who even call yourself, and again, I'm not even gonna blame y'all. I understand why I'm not supposed to be hot. I understand why there's not supposed to be a flow of frequency of over here, because I'm talking about something they don't want you focusing on. So anybody who sits here and look at the numbers and look at the people who's supposed to be subscribing and say that something is off, right? Either, you understand? But I ain't into that game because it ain't about that. I'm just going to do what I do. You understand? Some of you get it. Some of you going to be in opposition to it. Some now you going to be turned off for the simple fact that I'm talking about some of your friends. Look, it's coming down to this, baby boys, baby girls. Is this where it's at? So this young brother has 100,000 views, which means there's a whole lot of people who are interested in the stuff he's talking about. He's not talking about getting the cream. He's talking about a soap, right? He's talking about a soap that if you use these particular types of soap on a daily basis, it can lighten up your skin, right? Well, let me give you some history to that. And I'm tying this in with this story here. Do a lot of you even know that how they even came up with that skin lightening cream, right? Now, they called it was a scientific breakthrough, right? There was a so-called medical doctor named Aaron Lerner, right? He was a Yale dermatologist, right? Who they say discovered melatonin, which is melanin, right? He said melatonin, right? Now, that was in 1953, right? Now, he supposedly was interested in a skin condition called vitiligo. Now, a lot of people know about vitiligo because they associated that with Michael Jackson, right? Now, check this out. Paris Jackson, Josephinus, white Michael Jackson is insulting. I'm going to say that again. Paris Jackson, Josephinus, white Michael Jackson is insulting. Paris Jackson is incredibly offended and wants to vomit over the casting of white actor Josephinus as her father Michael Jackson in an upcoming comedy series, as Gossip Cop reported. The first trailer for Urban Myth with Finest as Jackson was released on Tuesday, and now Paris has called the casting of Finest insulting and a shameful portrayal. The Jackson episode, which is one of 8 from Sky Arts, is based on a Vanity Fair article that claimed in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the singer Elizabeth Taylor and Marlon Brando jumped into a car and drove out of New York together because all of the airports were closed. Though Finest previously defended his being cast as Jackson, stated the King of Pop definitely had an issue, a pigmentation issue, and was probably closer to my color than his original color. Paris is furious. In a string of tweets on Wednesday, she wrote, "I'm incredibly offended by it, as I'm sure plenty of people are as well, and it honestly makes me want to vomit." The only daughter of the late singer continued, "It angers me to see how obvious intentional it was for them to be this insulting, not just towards my father, but my godmother, Liz Taylor, as well. Where is the respect? They worked through blood, sweat, and tears for ages to create such profound and remarkable legacies." Shameful portrayals added Paris of the cast in the finals and Stockard Channing as Taylor. And in response to a question about Jackson identifying as black, Paris tweeted, "He made a point of it plenty of times to express his pride in his roots. He would never have wanted this." She ended her rant with the hashtag Justice for MJ, hashtag Justice for Liz. Okay? And so, now, vitiligo is when you have the patches of depigmented skin, blotches of white spots on your body. They call that vitiligo, right? Now, this particular person here, this Aaron Lerner, he's the one that actually, according to them, he's the one that discovered the hormone that darkens skin. He found the hormone that actually turns the skin dark. Which they name the melanocyte stimulating hormone, or some of them call it MSH. So after he had discovered that, he said, well, if you can make the skin dark, can we make the skin light? Now it says that he went on some research and found some scientific literature on the information of potential skin lightening compounds, right? And which gave him a vital clue. Now, according to some obscure 1917 article, it said that the pineal gland might produce a hormone that whitens the skin. Now, I'm going to say that again. The pineal gland might produce a hormone that whitens the skin. Now, it says in this article, 2 scientists reported they had ground up cattle pineal glands, right? Cows. They took the pineal glands of cows and put it into a tank filled with tadpoles, right? Now, about 30 minutes later, the skins of the tadpoles had become transparent, which means, the natural color of a frog is of a melanin or colored, right? Has color to it, right? It became transparent. So they was able to see the heart and the intestines of the frog, which means that the frog became clear. Okay? So it was through this experiment of these tadpoles with those pineal glands of the cow that they knew that there was something in the pineal gland that actually will change the skin lighter. Are you hearing me? Those people out here who are buying creams, who are putting on these soaps, I'm just telling you what's in it. So when anybody knows that the black bodies are in demand, because it's kind of like the pig. They don't throw nothing away of the pig. From the rootin' to the tootin' is what they say, right? Everything. They ground it up, make bologna, right? You know what I'm saying? Pig feet, pig ear, pig snoot, pig head, right? Hog head cheese, chitlins, you understand? Pork butt, steak, you know what I'm saying? They make everything. They don't throw nothing away. So when you are high commodity in that aspect, the black body is high because of the high propensity of melanin in you. So they are taking the pineal glands, they're extracting the melanin out us, you understand? And they're making businesses with it. Matter of fact, the melatonin pills they selling so that they can have a tranquil night's sleep, right? Where are you getting all this melanin from? Because you can't make it. A synthetic ain't going to give you the same. So where are they getting this stuff from? Moving on. So those people who do that, that's a little history for you. To let you know that when you going in there and you doing all this skin cream lightening and stuff, this stuff is coming from either animal pineal glands And probably the most potent would probably be from black people or people of color pineal gland, right? I mean, matter of fact, when you think about Michael Jackson, I remember that when they was talking about when this autopsy that they wanted to take a little slit of his brain. They probably extracted his pineal gland. You understand what I'm saying? But moving on to this story here, right? So the people who do want to be white, you go through some extraneous things trying to be white, right? And that's a sickness. That's just basically what it is. You are sick and you don't know you're sick. You know what I'm saying? And you don't look at people and try to ridicule them. But this is what I do as a whiteologist. I bring the stories to keep purporting to you so that you have an understanding about all the things that go on so that you can come to some realization that there might be something I need to be looking at. Now, according to this, it says the critical whiteness study aims to understand how whiteness is socially constructed, right? We know whiteness is not real. We know that, people will get technical and talk about you're not a white crayon or a black crayon, but the crayons what come first, the chicken or the egg? Was the man or the human before the crayon? So when we talk with a reference of color, we can't go reference to crayons first, right? And that's an artificial color. We are a natural color. You get it? Natural versus artificial. And you want to make reference when we say we black to a crayon when the natural black, right? Again, yes, we're not that color. Even if you take the natural color like a bear, right? Or then you have, Labradors and Dobermans and Rottweilers that are the black skin. No, we don't look like that. But as into the pigmentation on this planet, this is the reference that we are comfortable with. I don't have a problem with that. Now, you want to get y'all the nationality and all that stuff, fine, so be it. Got a problem with that. But don't, I can self-determine how I want to call myself on how I look at it, right? You have the right to determine yourself. But we understand that these are constructs anyway, constructed for a system so it can operate according to a people who consider themselves to come from the Indo-European caste system. So this is just a derivative of that caste system that has been brought in, set up, and shot in this land here. And that's all you decide to understand that. So this course is to help dismantle white supremacy. And this is going to ripple the feathers as the story goes on and talk about, right? So that this course is the experience in order to help dismantle. And the problem is, some people say, leave well things alone. What's wrong with it? Again, a vampire can't look in the mirror because it can't see itself. And that's the same way they view everything. They can't see themselves. So we're being the mirror to reflect in them, and they can't accept the image that we're telling them. They can't believe it. They don't want to believe it. Because again, your word is not valid. I am the epitome of humanity because of evolution and how we constructed over all this time, right? So it also goes and says that how race is experienced by white people. We don't even need really. We don't have to know it. We feel it. We see it, right? They don't need to experience it. They can experience it. We experience what they can't internalize to understand. That's where the problem lies at, right? So it says it's also there for them to consciously and unconsciously perpetuate institutional racism, right? Yeah, I think that's true because there's people, again, we don't want to blanket, right? We're not here to blanket, but what we're going to say is that even those who say they're not a part of it consciously, but unconsciously, they advocate for and they're for it, and just for the simple fact of non-advocacy against it, right? When, again, doing your credit check, right? Once we check your credit score, will you pass with flying colors? So it's not one to just say, I'm not, and I'm not. where is your resume? Right? So what happens is they're going to say, look, taxpayers funding educational institutions have an obligation to tackle the important issue of the day or to stay out of them. So they're saying that colleges have the right, as part of a curriculum, things that are happening, going on, these are the focus points. Curriculums could be set if the universities so choose so. Or they have the right to say, nah, we ain't going to touch that. Right? It's a business, right? Whoever business it is has the right to say whether they want to choose or don't choose, right? So, but this class here is taught as an African cultural study, right? And did you see the dynamic in the class? It said that 2% of the students were black and 75% were white. So here's an African cultural study class that is predominantly white. Why are white people filling up them classes? Because they want to know your culture. They're already in your culture. They're already bandits in your culture. Now they want to know everything else that they teach you, so they can also say, talk like black, act like black, dust to the dushes, ashes to ashes, however that used to go. Right? So they're piling up in the class more than there's black students. Because that African stuff. You know how some of our people, that's that African stuff. So they ain't interested in it. Right? They ain't doing nothing. They're racist. They ain't doing nothing but talk about white people. Well, again, the course is called The Problem with Whiteness. As if you have not recognized that there's a problem with whiteness. White people know there's a problem with whiteness, but they just don't want you talking about there's a problem with whiteness. That's what the problem is, that you're talking about it. So they says this David Murphy, who was assemblyman of Wisconsin, his outrage that he said that taxpayers are expected to pay for this garbage. We as taxpayers, right, have been paying for the garbage you've been shooting down us for generations. George Washington chopped down a cherry tree and couldn't tell a lie. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, and a whole bunch of garbage that we as taxpayers, or those people, part of the taxpaying people, have been paying. But they didn't have, if they had an outrage, no one was going to listen to it, right? They have no say so because they'll have no effect because the curriculum is set by who? The state. So you'll say so. Go to the PTA meetings. Voice your opinion. We might get around to you. Right? But in reversal, I don't know if they, we had people who were for Ebonics, right? Remember that going back in the 80s, 89? Talking about Ebonics, right? Remember that whole thing? Right? So anyway, I guess that was kind of a counter to this, right? So now they're saying that what his problem, he's saying, the legislator was saying that the underlying premise of the class is that white people are racist. Hey. Now, are we able to weigh? Because again, you could be a closet racist and no one knows it until either you get that moment on that aha moment or they got you on World Star, right? Something like that. But a closet racist can go through primarily his life until he or she has an incident. Then it will be exposed. Other than that, it's just, it is what it is, right? So is it the general population more of the races of white people, or is it the structure of power of people who operate, manipulate, control, corporatize, governize, and all that? Is that where really the racist, structure of power is at? More than just the general population? Most people will agree and say yes. So with that being the weight, the crux of the foundation, that's heavy. That makes that those institutions, right, makes that a heavy weight upon your nation of people. So what end up happening is you get stigmatized because of your association, right? Right? Isn't that kind of like in crime, right? That a person can be also, what's the word they use? Accomplice, right? You could be an accomplice by association to a crime and may not get the full maximum of what that person who actually did it, but being a part of it, you can still get some time. So you are an accessory to the crime and you are just as guilty if you didn't call the police on them, if you didn't turn them in. That's where your credit check come in at. Those who don't want to be saying that white people are racist. So it says, he goes on and says he don't know how the university can expect taxpayers to stand with the University of Wisconsin. Now in this case, when he's talking about taxpayers, it seems to be like he's talking about, a diverse of people. But we're talking about in Madison, Wisconsin. If you probably would go do the statistics, you probably find out that there's, again, remember there's only 2% white versus 75% white in the class that's African American study. Tell you that ain't a lot of blacks, especially on that college campus. Well, I'm not even interested in that. But the fact is that this is Wisconsin, again, the cheese state, right? What they call it, Green Bay Packers, right? You don't be seeing a whole lot of brothers out there. Right? So the predominance of the taxpayers of that state are going to be whites. So he's saying, I don't know how the university can expect the whites to stand with the University of Wisconsin. He's saying, I don't understand how you think that's going to happen. He said, and then he goes on and said the decision to approve the class makes him question the judgment of university leaders. Meaning, why are you teaching this nigga shit in our university? Why is this nigga shit being taught anyway? And if you're going to teach this nigga shit, you can't curb certain shit. Like, what is the beneficial of this shit that they're teaching? That's what he's saying. Where's this bullshit they teaching here? I didn't vote for that, right? They didn't vote for that. Who is this Sanjani motherfucker anyway? He says, then he goes on with this whole cliche. I support academic freedom and free speech. Free speech also means the public has a right to be critical of the public university and vice versa. You understand? That's like saying, oh, I have black friends. I'm not racist. I have black friends, right? But what does that really even mean? You have a black friend. Is your black friend really black is the question. You understand? It's not saying that because a white person got a black friend that, again, his credit score shows I have black friends, so I can't be a racist if I have a black friend. But how black is your friend? Variations of this blackness these days. You have full blood, you have half blood, and you got part-time. And I ain't talking about bloodline. I'm talking about that which, exudes the pride of being who they are. Now, if they are so strongly in that category and they're talking about the problem of whiteness, are they still going to be your friends? Because it seems like anybody who talks like this, you don't want them nowhere around you. Right? You don't want them nowhere around you. Right? And you're willing to use the institutions to close shop, threaten them economically if they keep pursuing down this course. We're going to have to do something about not putting our money in your school, like not sending our kids to your university, right? That was kind of like a little threat there, right? Then he questioned the leadership, like, what right-minded white people who are leading this university will even allow you to do something like this, right? The lack of balance and intellectual openness and diversity of political thought on campus, right? says that the university handling of controversy like this, right, appears to the public a lack of balance. Again, the public of who? The people in Wisconsin. The lack of balance of intellectual openness. You just can't talk about us and we're going to pay you. It's like on here on YouTube. Man, ain't letting no traffic come over here because they ain't going to pay you for talking about them. You can talk, look, I can put all kind of crazy shit on here. I could put on about fighting. I could talk about skin lightning. I could talk about who's who. I could put some, you know what I'm saying, hot foot in the motherfucker. I can put all that shit and I'll get hellified views. But if I'm sitting here talking what I'm talking about, you don't want to hear it. He ain't on that old shit. He ain't on that shit no more, man. It's always going to be about this. You understand? You was never going to be accepted to them until you become what they want you to be. Shit, if they could take a damn gorilla out of the African forest and turn his ass and ride on a motherfucking tricycle, balancing the ball on his head, he done docile the damn gorilla. He done tamed the gorilla. And now the gorilla is acceptable to him. But in this wild state where he'll tear a motherfucker in half, they don't want to be dealing with him. He's wild, rambunctious, he's an animal. But if I could get this motherfucker to ride a tricycle and balance a ball on his head and make kids feel safe, that's my kind of gorilla. Well, that's the same thing he looking at you. You my kind of nigga, as long as I can get you to ride a tricycle and balance a ball on your motherfucking head and don't be looking at this, the problem with whiteness, because ain't nothing wrong with us. Everything is you. You. Not us, you. Right? So it goes on and it says, well, you know, this Sanjani, he put a tweet and he was talking about what happened in Dallas. Now, he says, is the uprising finally starting? Is this style of protest gonna go viral? See, he's inciting fear, right? This Johnny he's by having this kind of oppositional teaching to make statements like that, he is saying things that'll be like, hey, he's an agitator. He's a troublemaker. Is this style gonna go viral? You know that's not gonna go viral because, you know, people color fighting with too much internally to even be thinking unison like that. So you ain't got to worry about that. You ain't got to worry about that, right? So the credentials of this mug is that he's a PhD from Northwestern University, but then they had to underline it and say he's an African American student in studies, though. He got a PhD from African American Studies from the University of Northwestern. You know, Northwestern is a prestigious college, but it's just an African American PhD. It's nothing that we really, you know, because anytime when you do some research and start looking at some of the stuff, white folks always discredit, try to say, oh, that's the African American Afrocentric nonsense. No one, that black stuff, nobody, yeah, of course, it's in opposition to you. I'm going to do a story, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all, man, that these mothers said that Egypt was white folks. I'm going to show you this. Funny shit, though, right? So it says, we believe this course, right, will benefit students who are interested in developing a deeper understanding of the race issue. It's to give white young college students the opportunity to be objective about the wrongness, that the problems of whiteness. And you don't want to question it. Matter of fact, I was talking to somebody about this. You remember when Serena there's a video, if you go out there, say, I think Serena about like 11 years old. And she was doing an interview with some white dude. And he asked her what she want to do when she grow up. She said she's going to be the best tennis player in the world. And he asked her about somebody, I guess at that particular time when she was 10, was the reigning champ. And asked her if she could beat her. She said, I could beat her. And she said it with, with just confidence. So the white man was like, you say that with such confidence. Her father, now I know, right now she being thrown under the bus because, and I want to say something about that anyway. So Richard, the father, runs to the white man, get in his face. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. She told you already what she said. Leave her alone. Why did he do that? Because you're messing with the confidence of the person putting doubt and questioning them. So this is what they're saying. When you're taking white people in this course, right, and put them in this environment that they can't structure it, they're letting, again, they even went on to say that he's some international radical. This mug is some radical Muslim mug in here teaching our children about the problems of whiteness. So he's planting a seed of doubt about their whiteness, about their history, about their, can't say culture, but all that, what they deem to be great about being white, he's fucking with that. And they said, and we're paying for this shit? They said several organizations have criticized the class or called for tighter restrictions, including Breitbart. Ain't that a Breitbart? Man, I tell you, man. Racism is really a deep subject, but it's really funny when you really look at it because, some people have to go all out to do certain things to manifest their superiority. I mean, again, if you're so superior, there's no need for you fixing the match. There's no need for you have to be braggadocious if you really about that life, right? There's no need that you have to stockpile yourself and disenfranchise the other so that it can't even have the opportunity to fight even evenly or even somewhat a fair fight. None of that. But you want the world to look at you with those great eyes, and it's not going to ever happen because it's all a lie. Because it's a little wizard behind the curtain. You understand? Well, it's Mr. Blows Your Mind, just bringing you another topic. Again, I ain't telling you what I heard. I'm telling you what I know.
I'm next, folks.